And not too far from Saint-Mihiel is this American monument that you see setting up on top of the hill there. And it took us a while to figure out how to get to it, but we finally found our way up and got out of the car and walked up to look it over. It's an American monument that was built to honor World War I. Inside the inscription you can read there, my dad was with the 5th Division, and all of the units participating, American units, are depicted above this inscription. I believe I zero in on the 5th Division here in a moment. Yeah, they're in the 2nd, 5th, 6th, 7th. They're listed, and here we are leaving the monument. It's built on the highest point of ground in that particular area. You can see for miles in every direction from here, as you can see from these shots. This is what is known as a douche-a-vol. It's a 2-cylinder automobile that the French built for people that can't afford anything in the way of luxury. A 2-horsepower motorcycle engine in it, and you get about 60 miles to the gallon, and the thing costs about $600 brand new. Here is a cemetery in Saint-Mihiel, American cemetery. These are pictures I took while I was on TDY in that area. And there's some of us who just had a little snowstorm the day before. The American flag always flies over American cemeteries in Europe. We pay for the upkeep of these places. The French themselves do the actual work of keeping them up. This is the town of Nancy. One of my TDY trips, we spent the night in a hotel here, and this was taken, these shots were taken out of our hotel window in the evening. Leaving the town of Nancy the next morning, there was a heavy fog, and nothing wrong with the film or the camera or anything else. This is just all we were able to see in the fog. Here is another community. I'm not really sure if this was Lyon. No. Oh yes. This is a city not too far from Evreux, or from Dreux, in between Dreux and Paris, called Monet, M-O-N-E-T, possibly called Monet. Here is a sunset over a farmer's field outside of Dreux. Now we're back to our housing area here in the city of Dreux itself. There's Debbie doing the twist again in front of my Packard. I'd had the car painted white while I was in France. And Debbie's running through our front yard. So one of our trips is a band of gypsies that their bus had broken down. And this is Crécy-Cauvet, which is another little town just outside of Dreux, on the way to Drew Air Base. This is a little shop that had a little well in front of it where I got the idea for the one that I had built in Oklahoma. And this was a church in Crazy Cove with a bent steeple. You see that it bent considerably to the right. Whether it was meant to be that way or whether something unforeseen caused that, we never did find out. And here are the Huddleston girls, Dave and Virginia's two of their daughters, Becky and Frances, doing the twist. You see, they look nothing at all like their parents. But in reality, it's our masks getting another workout. I suppose this would have a lot more meaning if the appropriate music were to accompany it. There they are. And this had to be before July of 63 because they left at that time. The city of Chartres, which is south of Drew, has a cathedral there that is very famous. It's probably I guess you'd say the model for all cathedrals that were built since then. This was built in the 13th century, and the rose glass window that you just saw there is a very famous church window. The entire church is a landmark. This is taken of the rose window from inside. The sun shining through. Here's some other windows from inside the church. And yet another. And this is a shot of the rose window, but from down underneath where I did not get the full effect of the sunlight. And this is a shot of the rose window, but from down underneath where I did not get the full effect of the sunlight. These were windows in another location, which the sun not being bright on the outside didn't create as good a picture.
Was this a cathedral that was built in a circle? It was unusual in that there were altars that were built all around the inside of it. Like, people could go to different places to worship, because there were a lot of altars on the inside of the church.
Was that in Chartres or was that in Notre Dame?
Notre Dame wasn't.
Oh, it must have been Chartres then. This is outside and back of the church. Some of the gardens around it. And out in front, the church has two steeples, but they were built at different times. And they are not identical steeples. Each steeple is totally different from the other. You got a view of one of them right there. This is one of the streets adjacent to the church with the obligatory souvenir shops directly across. Here we are gathered on some of the side steps of the church itself for a family portrait. It's amazing when you look at a church like this and consider it was built back in the 13th century the time and the work and everything that went into building it is almost unbelievable. Now we'll get a shot of, there's the rose window from the outside, and you'll see the two steeples now and how much they differ from each other. Here is the one on the left, and here is the one on the right. The kids walking towards the main entrance of the church. And walking back. And this is the Chateau de Maintenon. Now, I do not remember a great deal about this place, so I'm going to let my wife tell you about this, because maybe between the two of us we can...
Well, all I know about this one is it was built for one of the king's mistresses, wasn't it?
Madame Pompadour?
No.
Barry?
No. I had it before you said it.
There's an aqueduct, or the remains of an old aqueduct out in back of the chateau. You can see back there. The grounds around this chateau are absolutely beautiful.
Had it before you said it.
Now we're trying to think of the name of the mistress of the king that he built the chateau for, but these are some swans swimming in the moat, which extends on out behind the chateau.
Yeah, I just completely out of my mind.
Now here we're looking at, I believe this is the church of Beauvais. It's very bad to start with the inside of a structure in looking back at old films, because if I could see the outside, I'd know for sure.
If it is Beauvais, it's the church that's got the tallest nave in the world. It has to be. Look at the size of it.
Yeah. This is the church at Beauvais. As my wife said, it's got the tallest nave in the world. We'll get some outside shots of it later on. Here's one of the altars. These shots were taken inside without the benefit of any other light other than what was available in there. Some of the stained glass windows from the outside. Now here we are out at the main entrance of the church on the steps.
I believe it was St. Peter's Cathedral at Beauvais.
Yes, here we see the outside, some of the outside of the church, looking down one street. And you can see the height was unbelievable for basically one room. And off in the distance is the church that we had been looking at. The church in the foreground is something else and of little significance, but the church with the high nave there in Beauvais is the one in the background. They attempted to put a steeple on it, but it kept falling down. Sunset over the housing area in Drew. And I think someone just left the camera running in that particular instance. Here we are getting ready to go somewhere. My wife locking the door and about to get into the Packard with a cracked window. Debbie getting out of the car. Everybody going to the car. Debbie's coming away from it. Now, yeah, now we're in Paris. This is one of the waterfalls in a park in Paris around Longchamps, as I recall, where the racetrack is located. A beautiful waterfall here in this park, which you're looking at right now.
That was in front of this inn.
Yes, this was a very expensive open-air restaurant in the heart of Paris. Here we are going down one of the boulevards leading to the Arc de Triomphe. I don't know whether this was Avenue Foch.
I think so. Or does it become Foch on the other side?
Well, there are 5 avenues that go in here. That's why it's called the Étoile, or the Star. And this is the Arc de Triomphe. This is one of the first reels that I took when we were in France. We drove in with some friends of ours, and they took us around to some of the highlights, and they made it possible for us to familiarize ourselves with the city so that when we came in by ourselves we would know where to go. We're back in that park again here now, across from Longchamps, as I remember. Le Figaro was a newspaper in France. It seems to me I heard just the other day that that paper closed.
Well, they're closing the Bois de Boulogne, which is along there, too.
Here is one of the French government buildings. And Cleopatra's Needle, as it's referred to, it has another name too.
The obelisk.
The obelisk, yes. And I believe that building in the back is some sort of theater. Could be. And this is carvings on a bridge that was built by Napoleon that crosses the River Seine. And the sculpturing is unbelievable. You see the wreaths that are sculptured in the side of the bridge there. Absolutely beautiful. And we found a replica of my wife carved into it here, as you can see by the comparison that we made. Looking across from the Eiffel Tower, which we're standing under here, and the folks are looking up at, you see the UNESCO building, United Nations thing, and here is the Eiffel Tower itself. It's a reddish-brown color, which has surprised me. I kind of expected it to be silver, but it's a reddish-brown color. And it's a long way up there. And here we are, or there was a brief shot of us going up in the elevator to the first level where the restaurant is. And this is a view from that level down at the UNESCO buildings and the River Seine, one of the bridges crossing it. Off in the distance you can see the Arc de Triomphe. And here we are on the first level where the restaurant is located. Some more shots looking from this level at the Seine River. Off in the distance there is the Montmartre.
Yeah, Montmartre is the name of the place where it is, but it's Sacré-Cœur.
Sacré-Cœur is the name of the church, or the cathedral. What you're seeing there is a tourist boat in the River Seine. Now we're boarded the elevator again, and we're going to the top of the tower. And I'll let the camera run a little bit here as we're going up through the superstructure of the tower itself. Tremendously tall structure.
Okay, we just watched it. Look at
It
that.
was the keynote of the World's Fair, I believe, in 1889. It was held in Paris. Now, from the very top of the tower, we're looking again down at the Seine River, and off in the distance is Montmartre again, the Sacré-Cœur Cathedral. Some of the buildings in the vicinity of the tower. And here we are looking straight down at UNESCO facilities again. You can see how much higher we are this time. There's the Arc de Triomphe, briefly. And the rest of the city of Paris. This is the observation tower up on top. Some shots that I took inside. You can see that Debbie is very impressed with the whole thing. And here we are going down a trip that my wife, I'm quite sure, enjoyed tremendously.
Yeah.
Now we decided to take a lunch in the park, the Bois de Boulogne, and Becky Huddleston is the girl that's with us there. And this was taken at another time in, no, this was in front of Notre Dame Cathedral. The people were drawing on the sidewalk, and here is Notre Dame Cathedral itself, the front of it. Which is no small structure either. And we pan down to Debbie, who I believe can be persuaded to do the twist in front of Notre Dame. She's done it everywhere else. That's Becky Huddleston with her there. I'm quite sure she's going to do the twist here, isn't she? Yeah, there she does. I knew she would. These are some of the paintings inside Notre Dame Cathedral and some of the shots of the windows from inside the stained glass windows. This is the same window with a different setting of the camera lens. Here is Longchamps Park again. And this is one of the roadways that we take leaving France to, or leaving Paris to return to the Dreux area. The gendarme there is directing traffic. And here we are on the road back to Dreux, coming out of Paris. This was on a Sunday afternoon, and we had the road going away from Paris to ourselves. Everybody else was coming